Thank you everyone for coming to the travel presentation. I promised I would answer some questions. You all had some wonderful questions, and there were a lot of them, um, which it was good. Everybody, actually, the most common feedback was that you all wanted the presentation to be 2 hours. I don't know if I could stand up and talk for 2 hours, but I could try maybe on a future presentation. And also that you all wanted more pictures and stories from my travel. I actually specifically cut that down because I didn't want to take you through all of our travel photos. I kind of thought that was for the parents only, but if you would like that, I could do that on a future one. But I can tell you some of the highlights. Okay, so I'm going to start answering some questions here. And this might have to be a two-part series because there's a lot of questions, which is great. So I'm just going to go down a list here. First off, cell phones. So my husband and I brought two cell phones. I had one, he had one. We only had his that actually had service on it. So we had mine that was just in a Wi-Fi only. So we only ended up paying for one cell phone. That was enough for us. There is Wi-Fi everywhere you go in the world. And funny enough, service everywhere you go. We got better cell phone service on the Ho Chi Minh Trail in the middle of the jungle of Vietnam than I get in this room in my house. So, anyway, we brought one cell phone between the two of us. You could even go without a cell phone. Just have something that picks up Wi-Fi. And really, that's all you need. Okay, money. So the question was how we pulled out money along the way. So you can research this if it still does this, but we had a Charles Schwab account that had no fee ATM. So you could pull out money from anywhere in the world and not pay a fee on it, which is huge because you could, if you just want to pull out $100, let's just say. So we didn't travel with too much money. We only had a couple hundred on us at any given point in time. And if you don't want to travel with too much money anyway. So what we did is we pulled it out along the way. And Charles Schwab had a no fee ATM. So you could pull out money from anywhere in the world without paying a fee. Just Google that before you travel, see what the best option for you is. We didn't have this particular account, but we opened it just for that use case since we would be pulling a lot of money out, and we just kept money in that account. Another question was how we did passports and keeping things safe. And what we did is we had the passports usually with one person, and then we had copies with the other person. So in case one of our bags got stolen, which never happened, anywhere we were in the world, it was very, very safe. Shane would have the passports. I would have the passport copies, for example. And then we also had taken a picture of our passports and kept it online. We had a Dropbox account. So if by chance all of our stuff got stolen, we could still access Dropbox and have our passports. But once again, that didn't happen for us. So that was good. Budgeting. So I probably, if I did this again, would do a little bit better of a job of budgeting. We ended up spending a lot less than I had anticipated, which is great. And I highly recommend writing down your expenses when you're traveling. So the way that we did it, there's probably an app that's way better than this. But I just kept on my notes on my phone every time we spent $1. So, I mean, if we spent 50 cents on a bottle of water, I wrote that down. Which, by the way, you end up buying bottles of water everywhere in the world. So our water budget, I didn't have a water budget. Our water budget was like, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 by the time we got back. Except for in Rome. In Rome, they have water. They have springs everywhere. So there's little fountains everywhere, and it is like fresh, wonderful drinking water. Do not buy a bottle of water in Rome. It is far better to just get it from one of the spigots that they have. Side note. So, yes, so budget. Okay, so The budget was we ended up writing down all of our expenses, and that was really good for me personally because then I didn't have the anxiety like, oh my gosh, how much have we spent? Are we spending too much? And so there were some opportunities we had along the way. Ice climbing the Franz Josef Glacier in New Zealand that was particularly expensive, $300 a person. And so I was thinking $600 for a day. Oh my God, how can I? That's way too much. But then I looked at our budget and we were far underneath the budget, and that glacier is not going to be there in 20 years. So this might have been our only opportunity to do it. And it was a great highlight for us. So I'm glad we ended up doing it. My point to that is write down your expenses when you're traveling, because then you can keep on track and not come back with too little or too much. Okay, so buying stuff and shipping it. People asked if we bought stuff. We literally bought nothing. I bought a couple of pieces of jewelry that I used. I bought a shirt that I ended up using immediately because it was colder in New Zealand. But we're not really shoppers anyway, and kind of our thought was leave only footprints, take only photos. And so, if you're into buying stuff and bring it back with you, great. Just ship it back and have that in your cost of the purchase, because you definitely don't want to carry it with you. And actually, by not purchasing things, by that not even being a thing in our mind, in my opinion, we had a lot more time to enjoy other things. So we were never in the shops. We were never getting pulled off the road to think, oh man, look at that. That's kind of cool. Maybe we should buy that. We just didn't have that at all in our minds. So we were kind of more in the present moment. We were more able to enjoy what we were seeing and have other opportunities present themselves. And yes, we came back without a lot of stuff from our travels, but I'm not really a stuff person anyway, so it was okay. But like I said, if you do see something that you really, really, really want, ship it back. Don't carry it with you. That would just be a pain. Okay. Travel partners. So there are a lot of you that were saying that you would be potentially traveling alone, and you were looking maybe for a travel partner. So how can you get travel partners? So there's a couple of ways. So I would have traveled alone. So I went to my husband, Shane. He didn't know I was going to include this. Hi, Shane, if you're watching this. I went to him a year before a year before I thought we would travel, and said, I'm going to go travel the world. I'm going to take 6 months and go travel. It's something I've wanted to do forever. I would love for you to come with me. And to which, of course, it wasn't exactly a good timing for his work and everything and so on. And, but we ended up making it work. He ended up seeing that I really wanted to travel, and we ended up doing it as a honeymoon. It was basically, that was his justification, is taking 6 months from work for a honeymoon. So my point to that is start talking to people about your plans for traveling. You may be surprised that if you put it out there early, that you may have some friends or family or acquaintances that might want to travel with you. I didn't travel alone. I know a lot of people who have traveled alone and really enjoyed traveling alone. It does open you up to more opportunity to meet people. You're forced to meet people. We ended up meeting a lot of people too with just the two of us. But I would suggest, if you do want to travel with somebody, start talking about it. You might be surprised. You might have some people come with you. And if by chance it doesn't work in some way through your trip, where you're wanting to go one direction and they're wanting to go another, no problem. You're not married to each other. You can depart each other, and you can both have your own trip. So that's the other benefit to just booking only a couple of weeks ahead of time. And then you can leave your plans open. In terms of meeting people to travel, talk to all your friends and family, for people that you would actually want to travel with. And another recommendation I have is I went to, so meetup.com is there's a bunch of different free groups around Boston and other areas. And there is a meetup group on travel. There was, at least in Boston when I went to it, and it was really good. There were a lot of people that like to travel there. So I would suggest going to places where there are like-minded people who might be into travel. So maybe a meetup group, maybe a bike club, a cycling club, for example, if you're into cycling, maybe, I don't know, REI. When I went to REI to buy some things at REI, I ended up talking to a lot of other people that were buying stuff and were very much into adventure and traveling as well as were a lot of the people that worked at REI. So just think about places where like-minded people, you start talking about your plans for traveling, and you may find that you might have some travel companions. That is it for that portion. Okay, so accommodation. So if you are traveling alone, somebody said yes, it is a little bit more expensive if you're traveling alone, if you're staying in a hotel, for example. I would just research for all the countries that you're looking at. Just do some Google research and see if you are single person traveling in, you name it, Rome. Where would they recommend you stay? The review websites are really pretty good. So if you are traveling on your own and you want to go to a particular city, check out and see what the reviews are for the different places to stay and how much it is. Once again, you don't have to book all this right now, but you can just see. In the more expensive places to stay, it matters. So in the bigger cities in Europe, you might want to stay in a hostel or an adult hostel if you're older, if you're not in your 20s. And then on the more reasonable places that we went, like, especially like the Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, you're paying $11 a night anyway. So to share that with somebody else is you're not saving that much. It's not that big of a deal. So it just depends on where you're looking at traveling in the world. Some places are more expensive. Some places are a lot less. So let's see here.